Hello, everybody. So, in today's lesson, we're going to be talking about applying operations with rational numbers. We're on page 131 of the sixth grade Go Math textbook. So, let's go ahead and get started. So, how do we interpret a word problem? Well, when you solve a word problem involving rational numbers, you often need to think about the problem to decide which operations to use. So, let's look at this first example. So Naomi earned $54 mowing lawns in 2 days. She worked 2.5 hours yesterday and 4 and 2,500 hours today. If Naomi was paid the same amount for every hour she works, how much does she earn per hour? Well, we have 2 days, right? So the important information, she made $54 mowing lawns in 2 days. She worked 2.5 yesterday and 4 and 2,500 hours today. We're asked to find how much she earned per hour. So the total amount she earned divided by the total hours she worked gives us the amount of money she earns per hour. So the expression can be used 54 divided by the sum of the hours worked. So then we'd follow the order of operations. We have to add what's in parentheses first, and we come up with 6.75. And we're going to divide then 54 by 6 and 75 hundredths, which would give us 8. So she gets $8 per hour mowing lawns. So to justify and evaluate that, you added 2 and 5 tenths and 4 and 2,500ths first to find the total number of hours worked. We divided 54 by that sum to find the amount earned per hour. Okay, so if we go to page 132, we'll have a problem that we're going to try. So let's see. Casey buys 6 and 2/10 yards of blue fabric and 5 and 4/10 yards of red fabric. If the blue and red fabric cost the same amount per yard and Casey pays $58 for all of the fabric, what is the cost per yard? So we know 6 and 2 yards of blue, 5 and 4 yards of red, and she paid a total of 58. Well, we can write that expression as 58 divided by the sum of the blue and the red fabric that was bought. So 58 divided by 11.6. Okay, 4/10 plus 2/10 is 6/10. 6 ones plus 5 ones is 11 ones. So then we would just divide, right? Okay, we want to make 11 and 6/10 into a whole number by multiplying by 10. Multiplying it by 10 will move it one decimal place to the right, and it'll also move the decimal point one place to the right in the quotient. So how many 1/16ths can we get from 580? Well, 5 times 100 is 500, so maybe 5. So let's try 5. Oh, good, perfect. Okay, so there's no remainder, and there's nothing left to bring down, so it costs $5 per yard. All right, let's look at example 2. Each part of a multi-part question on a test is worth the same number of points. The whole question is worth 37.5 points. Ross got 1/2 of the parts of the question correct. How many points did Ross receive? Well, to do this one, there's a couple different ways we can do it. Step 1, we can convert the decimal, 37 and 5/10, to a fraction greater than 1. So that would be 37 and 5/10, which is the same as 37.5. 37 times 2 is 74, plus the 1 extra half is 75 halves. Okay, then we would just multiply the half times 75 halves. We get 75 fourths. We'd have to change that back into a mixed number, and we come up with 18 3/4 points. Okay, or we could convert the fraction 1/2 into a decimal and then multiply. So 1/2, that's just written as 5/10. 37 5/10 is already a decimal. Multiply them together, we'd get 18 75/100. Either answer is correct. Okay. All right, so number 2. The bill for a pizza was $14.50. Charles paid for 3/5 of the bill. Show 2 ways to find out how much he paid. Well, so we could say 14.50 divided by, I'm going to change the 3/5 into a decimal. I'm going to do that by changing the fifths into hundredths. So 60 hundredths is 0.60. Okay, so that's one way. And the other way, I could change the $14.50 into a fraction, 14.5, and divide by 3/5. So something's not coming out right, guys. I came up with a number that was greater than the pizza. So something I am not doing correctly here on this one. So 14.5, right? Oh, not division. Okay. Multiplication. Because we're taking 3/5 of the bill. Okay, so 3/5 of the bill. We weren't sharing the bill with 5 people. We're taking 3/5 of 14.50. So it should be 29 halves times 3 halves. So 29 times 3 is 72. 82. 87. 29 times 3, 87 over 10. So we get 8 7/10. So 8 7/10 dollars. And the other way, 14 50 hundredths times 60 hundredths. $8.70. Okay, so the mistake I made is actually a very common mistake that students will make. Okay, so I got distracted and I didn't take 3/5 of the bill. I was dividing the bill by 3/5. Okay, so when you see 3/5 of something, that means multiply. All right, 133. Bob and Cheryl are taking a road trip that is 188 3/10 miles. Bob drove 5/7 of the total distance. How many miles did Bob drive? Okay, so the total distance is 188 3/10 miles, and Bob drove 5/7 of that distance. So take 5/7 of 188 and 3/10. So we got two options again. We could change this into a decimal, or we can change this into a mixed number. I think we're going to change this into a mixed number. So 188 and 3/10. Well, we know 188 times 10 is basically just add a 0 to it. It would make it 10 times greater. So 1,880 plus 3 is 1,883 over 10 times 5/7. I'm going to reduce the 5 and 10 by dividing by 2. I'm going to hope that 7 goes into 1,883 to make it a little simpler. Yep. So I can, a common factor of 7 and 1,883 is 7. So 269. So if we multiply that, we get 269 over 2 times 1, which is 2. Okay, turn that back into a mixed number. (134.5 miles). If you wrote it as a decimal, 134.5. Either way is correct. Or it's the same answers, right? All right, number 2, the winner of a raffle will receive 3/4 of the $530.40 raised from raffle ticket sales. How much money will the winner get? Again, 3/4 of. So we're going to take 3/4 times 530 and 40 cents. Okay, so this time 3/4, that's easy to turn into a decimal, right? 3/4 or 3/4 is 0.75. Okay, so we're going to multiply $530.40 by 0.75. Recall that we are keeping track of the decimal places. So we're going to have a total of 4 decimal places in our answer. All right, so go ahead and multiply. 5 times 0 is 0. 5 times 4 is 20. Regroup. 5 times 0 is 0, plus 2 more is 2. 5 times 3 is 15. Regroup. 5 times 5 is 25, plus the 1 that was regrouped, 26. Okay, moving to the 7/10. 7 times 0 is 0. 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 0 is 0, plus 2 is 2. 7 times 3 is 21. 7 times 5 is 35, plus the 2 regrouped, 37. I don't need to worry about the 0 because it's not going to change anything. It's just going to be 0. So I'm going to put a reminder that I have to have 4 decimal places in my product. One, two, three, 4. So $397.80. All right, number 3. Shanasia has 8 and 7,500 gallons of paint. She wants to use 2/5 of the paint to paint her living room. How many gallons of paint will Shanasia use? So 2/5 of the total paint. So 2/5 times 8 and 7,500. Either way is real easy. You can change 2/5 into a decimal by multiplying the fifths by 20 and the 2 by 20. So we change this to 0.40, or we can change this to 8 3/4. So I think I'm going to go ahead and change it to 8 3/4. I'm going to do it on scratch paper. So I'm going to keep the fraction, and I'm going to change the decimal to 8 3/4. If you want to multiply as decimals, go ahead. So 2/5 times, I'm going to turn this into a fraction greater than 1. 8 sets of 4/4 is 32, plus 3 more is 35/4. Okay, we can simplify before multiplying. So greatest common factor of 5 and 35 is 5. So 5 divided by 5 is 1. 35 divided by 5 is 7. 2 and 4, I can also simplify that by dividing by the greatest common factor, 2. So 7 halves, which means she can paint. She'll use 3.5 gallons. Number 4. Harold bought 3 pounds of red apples, 4 2/10 pounds of green apples, and both apples are $1.75 a pound. How much did he spend on the apples? So this one, the apples cost the same, so we just need to figure out how many pounds he bought. So we can take the sum of 3 and 4 2/10 and multiply it by $1.75. And that would give us the cost. So 3 plus 4.2 is 7.2 times 1 75/100. Three decimal places, 2 in the top number, 1 in the bottom number. So we're going to move the decimal place 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. So we have $12.60. Okay, number 5. So let's see. Samuel and Jason sell cans to a recycling center that pays 40 cents per pound of cans. The table shows the number of pounds of cans that they sold for several days. Okay. Samuel wants to use his earnings for Monday and Tuesday to buy some batteries that cost $5.60 each. How many batteries can Samuel buy? Show your work. All right, so Monday and Tuesday, he turned in 16 2/10 pounds and 11 8/10 pounds. We're going to multiply that by 40 cents. Okay. That's going to show us how much he's earned. I'm going to put that in brackets because I want to do this first. And then I'm going to divide that by 560. So we have 28.0. So 28 and 0/10. 8/10 plus 2/10 is 10/10. 6 plus 1 is 7 plus the 1 regrouped is 8. And 1/10 plus 1/10 is 2/10. Times 40 cents. Okay, and then we're going to divide that by 560. So 40 cents times 28. Okay, so we can just write it like this, right? 28 times 40 cents. $11.20 divided by 560. Well, if you double 560, you'd get 1120. But let's prove that by dividing 1120 divide by 560. Multiply dividend and divisor and dividend by 100. How many 560s can you take from 1120? Should be 2. 2 times 6 is 12. 2 times 5 is 10, plus the 1 regrouped. Yes, 2. So Samuel can buy 2 batteries. Okay, number 6. Jason wants to use his earnings for Monday and Tuesday for online movie rentals. The movies cost $2.96 each to rent. How many movies can Jason rent? And show your work. All right, so we're going to have a similar problem. Jason earned or turned in 11.5 pounds on Monday and 10 7 pounds on Tuesday. To figure out how much he earns from them, we have to multiply it by 40 cents. Okay. So we want to do all of this first. So I'm going to put it in brackets, and then we're going to divide that by 296. Okay. And that'll tell us how many movies he can rent. So 11.5 plus 10.5, 10 7 tenths is 22.2 times 40 cents divide by 2.96. So 22.2 times 40 hundredths is $8.88. And we're going to divide that by $2.96. Okay, so we have 2 96 hundredths divided into 8 88 hundredths. We want to turn this into a whole number by multiplying by 100, which will move the decimal point 2 places to the right, 2 places to the right as well in the dividend. So 888 divided by 296. Well, that's about 300, right? So I'm not going to be able to get 3 from this. So maybe, actually, you might be able to get 3. Let's try. Yeah, 3 exactly. So 3 movies can be rented. All right, number 7. Samuel and Jason spent 3/4 of their combined earnings from Wednesday to buy a gift. How much do they spend? Is there enough left to buy a card that costs $3.25? Okay, so they're spending 3/4 of their combined earnings. 3/4 of their combined earnings from Wednesday, so 12.5 plus 7 1/10 times 0.40 will tell us how much they spent. Okay, so we're going to take 3/4 of 19.6 times 0.40. All right, so we have decimal, decimal, fraction. Let's change this into a decimal. So 75 hundredths times 19 6/10 times 40 hundredths equals how much they spent. So Okay, so 75 hundredths times 19 and 6 tenths is 14 and 70 hundredths times 40 hundredths. So they spent $5.88 was spent. Now it's asking us, do they have enough to buy a card that costs $3.25? So they made 19 and 6 tenths times 40. So they made $7.84 because we're going to multiply the number of pounds they turned in by 40. So $7.84 minus $5.88 equals $1.96. So no, they don't have enough. Okay, so again, let's look at what we did. So to figure out how much they spent, remember it says they spent 3/4 of the money they earned. Well, this is the money they earned times 40 cents. So 19 and 6 tenths pounds times 40 hundredths makes it come out to $7.84. They spent 3/4 of that, which was $5.88. So $7.84 minus how much they already spent leaves them $1.96. Well, they don't have enough to buy a card that costs $3.25. Okay, number 8. So give an example of a problem that could be solved using the expression 9.5 times the sum of 8 and 12.5 and solve your problem. All right, why don't we think of it like as I don't know, I'm thinking like a fundraiser. And it's this person's going to give money for the number of hours or number of miles ran. So I'm thinking something like this. A community member donates $9.50, 9.5, right? $9.50 per mile to 2 different students. Okay, and so these are the students' miles. One ran 8 miles and the other ran 12.5. So if one student ran 8 miles and another ran 12.5 miles, how much did the community member donate? Okay, so that's our question. You can come up with anything you want. Okay. So we're going to add 12.5 plus 8 Let me just rewrite the problem that's already there. 9.5 times 8 plus 12.5. All right. So 9.5 or 9 and 5 tenths plus 20 and 5 tenths. Okay, so just multiply that together. 20 and 5 tenths times 9.5. So she's going to donate $194.75. All right, number 9. So Tony and Alice are trying to reduce the amount of television they watch. For every hour they watch television, they have to put $2.50 into savings. The table shows how many hours of television Tony and Alice have watched in the past 2 months. 35 and a half and 4/10 hours in February, 18 and 2/10 hours in March. So he knocked off about half of it. Alice, though, went up, huh? 21 and 8/10 to 26 and 6/10. So, all right. Tony wants to use his savings at the end of March to buy video games. The games cost $35.75 each. How many games can Tony buy? At the end of March. So 35 and 4/10 hours plus 18 and 2/10 hours times $2.50 will tell us how much he's earned. And then we're going to divide that by 35.75. And that'll tell us how many games he can buy. So 53 and 6/10 hours times 250 divided by 35.75. Okay, so 53.6 times 250. So $134 divided by 35.75 will tell me how many games he can buy. So take 134 and divide by 35.75. Multiply the divisor and the dividend by 100 to move the decimal, to turn this into a whole number. So move it 2 places to the right and move it 2 places to the right in the dividend. So 3,575 into 13,400. So if I focus just on this 3, how many 3s could I take from 13? Maybe 4? Let's try 4. 14,300. So 4 is too much. So 3 should work. $10,725. If we subtract that, I get a remainder of 2,675. Now, do I really need to continue dividing this? I could, right? But the decimal portion means how much is like left over, right? He's not going to be able to get a fraction of a video game. So how many games can he buy? 3. Okay, Alice wants to use her savings at the end of the 2 months to buy concert tickets. That cost $17.50 each. How many can she buy? So Alice, we have 21 and 8/10 plus 26 and 6/10 multiplied by 250. So that's going to be how much she put in the savings. And then we're going to divide how much she put in the savings and divide by 1750. the 2 months of watching television, $2.50 per hour, put it into the savings, and she's going to spend it by breaking it into $17.50 concert tickets. So, $48.4 times $2.50 divided by $17.50 will tell us how many tickets she can buy. So 48.4 times 250 Okay, I didn't multiply by the row for zero, by the hundredths, because that's just going to be zero. So I put a placeholder here, and I moved to 5/10. Right. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 8 is 16. 2 times 4 is 8, plus one more is 9. So she put in $121 divided by $17.50. Again, will tell us how many tickets. So 121 divided by 1750. We want to turn 1750 into a whole number. We need to move it 2 places to the right. So that means we have to multiply it by 100. And we have to do the same thing to the dividend. Okay. All right, so we have 1750 into 12,100. I don't know, I'm thinking maybe 7. Let's see, 1750 times 7. 0, 35, 12,250. So that's too much. So let's do 6. 10,500, subtract 1,600. Again, so the next number I bring down is going to show that everything after the decimal is the amount left over. Well, again, she can't buy a fraction or a decimal of a ticket. So she can only buy 6 tickets. Number 11. A caterer prepares 3 times as many pizzas as she usually prepares for a large party. The caterer usually prepares 5 pizzas. The caterer also estimates that each party guest will eat a third of a pizza. Write an expression that represents this situation and how many party guests will the pizza serve. So she prepares 3 times as many as normal. So that would be 15 pizzas, right? And then we're going to divide that into 1/3 sections. So each guest is going to eat 1/3. So we're going to share these 15 pizzas. So 15 divided by 1/3 equals 15 times 3/1. So 3 times 15 is 45/1. So 45 guests. Number 12. Nadia charges $7.50 an hour for babysitting. She babysits 18.5 hours the first week of the month and 20 hours the second week of the month. To find her total earnings for those 2 weeks, Nadia writes 7.5 times 18 and 5/10 plus 20 equals $158.75. Okay, well, So she followed the order of operations as she wrote it. That means she multiplied 7.5 times 18.5 and then added 20. But she should have added those hours first. Okay. 38 and 5/10 times 7.5 will give us a sum of $288.75, not $158. Okay. And 13. Suppose Nadia raises her rate by 75 cents an hour. How many hours would she need to work to earn the same amount of money she made in the first 2 weeks of the month? And explain. Okay, so she raises her rate by 75 cents. So now she's not making 750. So we're going to go 750 plus 75 cents. That's how much she's going to charge, right? We're going to multiply that. No, sorry. That's going to be her number of hours. And that's going to be divided by or divided into the $288.75. So she earned $288.75. Divide by the amount of hours she worked. Okay, will tell us hours worked. So the cost per hour, so $288.75 divided by, she's now going to be charging $8.25, right? 2 quarters would give me to 8. Another quarter would be $8.25. So $288.75 divided by 8 and $8.25. We need to multiply $8.25 by 100 to turn it into a whole number. Multiplying by 100 will move it decimal 2 places to the right. I do the same thing to the dividend. All right, so 825 divided into 28,875. If I just focus on the 8 and the 28, I think probably 3. Let's try that. 825 times 3. 2475. Okay, a remainder of 412. Bring down the 5. If I focus on just the 8 and the 41, that would be about 5. That possibly makes sense because 5 times 5 is 25. So let's try that. So 825 times 5. Yeah. So 35 hours is what she would need to work. Okay, so that's the last lesson of Module 5. So until our next lesson, I will see you soon.